Ladies and gentlemen, a man who deserves every award that you could possibly give to an investigative journalist, a pundit, maybe if there's a hair model too.
Yep. For sure.
And also a man who's just cool as hell. Ladies and gentlemen, Marty Smith.
Yay!
Marty, how you doing, bub?
Gentlemen, good afternoon. I hope you're well. It's always great to spend time with you. And I'm not even sure what the hell my name is. I don't know where I am.
Of course.
I just want to say this to America and beyond. The memes were incredible entertainment throughout the entire soiree. So thank all of you who understand AI. I do not. I have no idea what it is or how it works, but it kept me and the boys very well entertained throughout Saturday and Sunday.
I love that the internet was your tag team partner through this because, boy, we were following your every step. You were in your hotel room talking about it. You were in the facility talking about it. You're at an FBO talking about it. You were pushing back meetings. You were saying, there was a meeting, now it's been pushed back yet again.
Meetings, that's a fact, Jack.
Yeah, yet again. So we appreciate you following it. Biggest story, obviously, in college ball right now. There's so many things that could be talked about on the field, but obviously Lane Kiffin potentially leaving his school in the middle of the best run that they've ever had and going to a rival school before the college football playoff became the story that captivated almost the entire thing. There was a lot of exposure, I think, to the flawed CFB calendar on when the transfer portal is, when the recruiting deadline is, when teams can go, when the playoffs are. So I think there's going to be some changes made from this entire scene, but we didn't get any of the changes for this particular situation. How would you describe what you experienced and basically the Lane Kiffin situation as a whole from your perspective, embedded in the middle of it basically over the last 48 hours?
I've tried to drill down on that, Pat. I've tried to think really intentionally about everything we just experienced because Lane is an enigma. He's such a unique personality. And I would venture to say, having been around him a lot, the personality that you see on social media is not always indicative of the person that he is when you're having a conversation with him. And on social media, he's very flamboyant and boisterous and controversial and polarizing. But when you're talking to him one-on-one, he's much quieter and more introspective. And so going into this thing with all of the growing groundswell of what is his decision going to be, the fact that Keith Carter, the athletics director at Ole Miss, basically gave him an ultimatum. All right, it's going to be Saturday. I got to know Saturday after the Egg Bowl. So I'm commissioned to go cover the Egg Bowl as part of the broadcast and try to give some semblance of insight during the game, not just about the decision itself, but the person making the decision, who again is a very complex man. And then the Egg Bowl ends. And I go over to Oxford, and then it got really interesting because there was this information coming in that the two sides were not agreeing. And the main crux of that was, as millions of you know, he wanted to coach this football team. And then there was some back and forth about if he does take the LSU job, who goes with him that's on the current staff at Ole Miss. And those were major sticking points. Those were, there was a lot of tense conversations around that between Keith Carter and Lane Kiffin. And then we show up Saturday morning. We do all of the shows and College Game Day, and we're trying to give some insight. And I talked to Lane for quite a while Saturday morning, and he gave me what he could. And then we waited and waited. And I mean, we didn't leave there until, I don't even remember what time it was. I want to say midnight-ish Central, I think something like that. We were there 18 something hours and with no resolution. And I don't know if you guys saw the clip from SEC Network. I mean, I texted him in the 8 o'clock hour around 8:45 or 6. And I'm like, bro, is there going to be a resolution tonight? Please, God in heaven, tell me yes. People are putting AI on the internet where I look like a damn crypt keeper. We got to do better now. We got to figure this out.
Yeah.
So, then, brother, you wake up Sunday morning and you still don't know. And I'll tell you, I think the only story that I've covered that was this type of news that might have been a little weirder was when Scotty Scheffler got arrested at Valhalla. Which, by the way, they should have engraved an Emmy and handed it to Jeff Darlington immediately. That was the most brilliant reporting I've ever seen. And then I chased him down to the tarmac and interviewed him last evening.
Hell
Yeah, you chasing him down to the tarmac is obviously special because Lane Kiffin starts it with, hey, I really like the way you ran through. I assume you had to jump through some stuff, hide behind some stuff.
Oh, buddy. Let me tell you guys this story. This is a hell of a story.
Yes.
So, all right, the Ole Miss meeting ends. A player comes out and yells, "It's the Pete Golding era." So we're all like, "Oh, hell, okay. They've made Pete Golding. Is he the interim? Is he the full-time? What are we doing here?" So we're all working our phones trying to figure that out. And then I get a text from Lane. And he goes, "I'll do your interview right now." I'm like, "Awesome. Where? When?" I'll do it. "We'll go to your house. We'll go to the moon. We'll go to the airport." And there had been a lot of information coming in that 2 LSU planes were landing at the Oxford airport in just an hour or so, hour or 90 minutes. And I was still waiting to get this information from him on when we might do this. Nothing. Crickets. So I look at my guys and I'm like, "Boys, we're going to the airport." Like my journalism antenna went up. I'm like, "We're going to the airport." So we go to the airport and we wait and we wait. And it was cold as hell. Cold. And then I get a note from him and he's like, "We're on the way." Well, I knew, all of you guys are big private jet guys.
Whoa.
So I know you guys know this.
Whoa. Don't be giving away. It is very nice. It is very nice.
I knew that given the scene, which was bedlam, I mean, the people showed out at the Oxford airport ready to tell my man Kiffin that he's number one.
Thank you.
Yeah, he certainly
And
did.
Thank you, Lane.
I knew they were going to drive him straight onto the tarmac. So I'm trying to figure out how to get on the tarmac when I know that's against the law. You can't just walk out there. So I'm like, "Dude, where are they taking you?" So he tells me this area, right? I'm not going to disclose the area, but I did know that it wasn't where I was. So I yell at my crew. I'm like, "Come on, boys, let's go." And I had been given at the Birmingham airport Thanksgiving night this conversion van.
Yeah.
Now, y'all, this ain't no minivan.
No.
This is like a 16-person.
Oh, yeah.
It's like driving a loaf of bread. And I'm going to tell you something now. I've been getting my balls busted constantly about that by everybody in the world for driving that loaf of bread. But you know what? God is so good.
Yes, he is.
If I didn't have that van in that chaotic moment where we're running to get Lane Kiffin, there's no way I can fit my whole crew, all the cameras, all the gear in one vehicle. But I had the loaf of bread. All right, so we all get in the loaf of bread, and Lane is basically giving me the play-by-play on where he is, and we're wheeling this van.
That's right.
And we take a left. And when we take a left off this highway, there is all these fire trucks that have blocked off the road.
Oh, no.
There's firemen blocking the road. Well, I said, to hell with it. We're Bo Duking this thing.
Hell yeah.
What?
So there's a field that I drove around the barricade, through all of this farm equipment. The van's bottoming out. We're bombing this thing through ditches, over the hill and through the woods to this road. And then I mat this van all the way up on top of the hill to the tarmac area. And there he stood, laughing his ass off. So he saw the whole thing.
I'll give you an interview.
And he's on the phone, and he's like, "Bro, you really are Scooby-Doo. This is the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life." But
yeah.
I give him a lot of credit, man. Like when I got out of the van and the boys piled out, which shout out to my crew, world class. Luis and the boys killed it. All right, this is a chaotic moment where this man is going through a lot of emotion here, all right? He has made the decision to leave a team that he's led to the greatest season ever, first time in 132 years of Ole Miss Rebel football that they have 11 regular season wins. They're going to host a college football playoff game. It is the greatest era in the history of the program. And he's chosen to go to the enemy.
Yeah.
So, I asked him every question that I felt was pertinent in that moment, all the way down to what does LSU offer you that Ole Miss doesn't? And I give him a lot of credit because he said, I don't know that yet. It may not be the right decision. We'll find out. But, I think he said I don't want to put words in his mouth, but it was basically like, let's go prove this right.
Yes.
Something to that effect. And so he answered the questions as best he could. And it wasn't kumbaya over there in Oxford. It was a contentious thing.
Yeah. And van, a sprinter van, a conversion van was just rolling through, fields to get up here. I mean, you got chaos over here. You got people chanting, telling you you're number one over here. You got the internet exploding. You got, I assume, some sort of escort. Then you have a conversion van with fire trucks.
There wasn't no escort. Hell no.
For him.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
There was no escort.
How'd he get on
for him there were. I'm sorry. I thought you meant for us. He had legions of law enforcement.
Which is interesting to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Professionals.
That is. Yeah, they're still doing their job.
Yeah.
Yeah, unlike you.
Unlike you, Lane. Quitting on the team. All right, now we got some questions about the meeting because there's stuff coming out, and I don't know how much you know and how much you can tell. D-Bud has a question for you.
Yeah, I know you've been around the game for a long, long time, so it's kind of a two-parter. How often does something like this happen, and is there any truth to the plain ultimatum to the staff? Like, hey, if you don't meet me on this plane, your job's not going to be there. We all saw the report from On3 Sports. How much truth was there to that with Lane?
All I can tell you, brother, is what he told me last night before he boarded that plane to Baton Rouge, because I actually asked him that exact question. How much of it being held up this long was due to your desire to take staff members from your offense? And by the way, I got home in the middle of the night and my wife goes, the first time you asked that question, it made no sense. And Lane even went, huh? So I had to clarify the question. So sorry, I was tired.
Sorry.
He said to me, Darius, there was never any ultimatums. All right. That's what he said to me. So that is what I can tell you. I haven't been told by anybody inside Ole Miss that there was. So all I can do is tell you what Lane told me. Now, that's his side, all right? A lot of guys went. I'm keeping tabs on who went with him. Charlie Weiss went, the guy that is, calling the plays of Lane's masterful offensive scheme. His strength coach went, his GM went. So you're talking about key personnel.
Oh, yeah.
Which then leads to
the clause of the college football playoff, the fourth clause that says missing key components of your team that you had in the regular season, and whether it was players like we had with the Florida State situation a few years back, and it says coaches as well. Coach Golding becomes the head coach. Good luck to him. Pulling for him, obviously.
Great man. He's a great man.
It felt like everybody loved him. Yeah. And he did have, Connor pointed out on his X account, but he did have the Southern, a lot of a lot of confirmation talking, which is very positive. And it felt like the boys liked him, the standing ovation. And Mr. Butler here, the AD, he's obviously in the middle of this entire story as well, because allegedly he was the one that was kind of talking to the team and talking to Lane about what he can do, what he can't do. I think Lane said to you, like some national media maybe think it's okay for me to coach my team or whatever. He has to live here, though. He's the AD, so he views it a little bit differently. It was hard for me to ever see them letting him coach his team. And I understood, like a lot of people, I haven't been around college football or in the weeds of college football as long as others have. Obviously, it felt like every OG college football person that I heard speak on it was like, he has to go to LSU because they don't even have a coach right now and they have a better recruiting class than Ole Miss has right now. So they'll have 10 5-star. This is the number one recruit in the country.
As soon as he landed,
Lamar, I believe is his name. And I read through his Twitter account, And this kid, he committed to LSU. He said he wants to be known as the greatest Tiger of all time. Like, that's what he wants to. He's from Louisiana. Wants to be known as the greatest Tiger of all time, which goes to exactly what all the OGs of college football have been saying. It's like every recruiting class, you're going to have at least 10 5-stars. At least 10, just because they want to be an LSU Tiger. So, like, that makes your life a lot easier, is what all these OGs around there are saying. And in my eyes, I'm like, well, in the modern world, do you need that? Especially with how great you are in the transfer portal. And if you have the money to back it and you've built something so good and you're on a playoff run, this is the greatest year you've ever had. Maybe enjoy your greatest year you've ever had, and there'll be more jobs in the future. That's exactly what it seemed like all the OGs were saying. The OGs were like, no, but they should let him coach his team because he's a good coach, so they should enjoy this entire moment. It's like, yeah, but what about the transfer portal? What about the recruiting side, the signing day? Like, there's so many things that are all happening at the same time. I don't know if LSU would have wanted him coaching at Ole Miss if push came to shove, like if they really wanted him to do that. So that just never seemed like a reality type based opinion in my eyes. But I don't know the game is better as much as everybody else.
It just goes back to the complexity of all of this, too. First of all, when all of this first started to gain steam, maybe a month ago or so, something like that, that he would, right after, BK got fired, Lane Kiffin's the guy, all right? And my opinion at that point was, okay, let's look at the personal piece of this. This is a man who genuinely changed his life in Oxford, Mississippi. What began, and I'll back up and just tell you kind of how he described it to me. He told me when Ole Miss won the Outback Bowl in 2021, he looked at the victory photos from that win, and he said, man, I was so fat. I looked like one of them anaconda snakes that gets the food caught in his throat.
Yeah.
And he said, I know I have to make change in my life. So what began as no red meat, no sugar, turned into sobriety. And with sobriety for him came tremendous fulfillment and emotional clarity. All right? So what comes from that? The human condition says when you have that fulfillment and emotional clarity, there's peace in your soul. And I don't care who you are, there's no monetary value that supersedes that. Now, it's easy for me to sit here and say that. I'm not the guy that's got, 90 or $100 million staring at me, all those 5 stars and all that tradition. All right, so that was my initial perspective on why I thought he should stay at Ole Miss. Well, then you start to think about, okay, he's talking to Coach Saban, who loved LSU, loved it, and had he never left there, probably it's full of rings, probably. Right? All right. And he's talking to Pete Carroll. And did I just, are you guys still got me? I look like a robot right now.
Yeah, you're good. This is good. It's kind of artsy, though. We'll say it's like shot like Oppenheimer. One's one and the other.
Film on there.
Yeah. It's good. It's good.
What a kid filters.
If he would have never left LSU, though, bunch of rings down there, you're saying. He loved it. He took temptation in the league as opposed to staying there, you're saying.
I see it as the prospect of potential being higher at LSU than at Ole Miss. And that's me speaking for him. So then he tells me last night, all right, I talked to Pete Carroll, who said to me, your dad would tell you to take this job. Your dad would tell you to take this shot. And I think he said it well after the Egg Bowl win. This isn't such an incredible opportunity to be wanted by LSU and retained at Ole Miss, where you've built this amazing thing. But that doesn't mean it's not a hard decision. It's a really hard decision because, as he told me last night, like, he loves Oxford. And the people down there, they have every right to be upset. Every right. That's a great fan base, man. And to be in this moment where you feel like you have this lightning in a bottle with Trinidad playing so well, with just their offense is incredible. Pete had the defense playing at a high level, and now he's going to be the man that's leading them into the college football playoff.
Yeah, and who knows
Maybe.
how much they're going to be docked. Yeah, like that is it's really scary to think about. And I understand the anger coming from the Ole Miss fans. And, you know, who knows if any other jobs would have been available down the road after they figure out the whole CFP calendar. Lane having to be the one, you know, that kind of has to take this head on is wild. You see any changes coming? Has there been any chatter you think about that that you've been hearing? Obviously, you talk to both sides in this situation.
Yeah, in terms of the calendar.
Yeah, how do they change? Yeah, what do you think?
I don't know, but this is an opinion. This is not a report.
Okay, journalist hat off.
That you look at
pundit hat on.
I think you look at this, and when you have people like Coach Saban, who has been, you know, sitting right beside you, Patty, on College Game Day, being adamant that this is a broken calendar, and nobody knows what he's talking about more than Coach does. All right. And then I've seen folks like David Pollock, who I respect his opinion to the most esteemed level, having that opinion. I think that it will definitely, I will say it should. I think it should be looked at. Now, I will say this to you, too. I've had conversations with other coaches in the last, what time is it? 1:30 Eastern. Whenever I was hauling ass from Oxford to the Memphis airport last night to try to get home, I talked to a couple of sitting head coaches that were not in a position where their job was changing. Their opinion was that only affects 10 or 12 universities a year. And for those of those coaches that are entrenched, this current calendar gives them the opportunity to know exactly who their team is when they get to spring practice, and then when they get to June and beyond, which I found to be interesting because I'll be honest, I was a little ignorant why this was such a huge deal. That's why I had these conversations with these coaches.
Yeah, it's fascinating because that number is going to far outnumber the group that is worried about it every single time. So whenever push comes to shove, whose vote matters? This is NFLPA stuff.
Yeah.
NFLPA stuff, the only reason why I'm comparing that is because you hear like a lot of the OGs, the guys who make all the money. Well, the majority of the players are like the bottom, you know, 2/3 of the roster that are kind of on turnover. So the NFLPA almost like takes their side on things, and all the OGs are like, excuse me, this is not how this actually goes, but it's better for the majority. The majority of these college football teams are like, yeah, we would like more time with our team to get into training camp, to get into the season. But that's why there's a pitch of, I think, like summer leading into training camp for everybody. But who knows who will outnumber who in the vote.
If I were whoever makes that decision, is that the who makes that decision? The NCAA?
Good question.
I don't know that answer.
That's a problem.
That's part of the problem.
But whoever that is, okay, whoever that group of people is, they should get in a room with Nick Saban, with Mac Brown, with these guys there you see on the screen. I just thought that was well said by Coach, right? And so it needs to be resolved where this doesn't happen again, at least in my estimation, because you put so many schools in a unique situation. All right, everybody was waiting on Lane. Florida was waiting on Lane. LSU was waiting on Lane. Ole Miss was waiting on Lane. Auburn, all these schools were waiting to see who did what, and thereby what coaches were available for them to hire. And as the Lane to LSU narrative got stronger and stronger and stronger, to the point that all of us who were trying to break this story realized that, okay, he's going to LSU. That's when all the dominoes started to fall, right? Silverfield goes to Arkansas. Sumrall goes to Florida. What am I forgetting here? Golish goes to Auburn, on and on, right?
Jim Mora.
And it all happened just like
Jim
this.
Mora to Colorado State.
Yeah, Jim Mora, Colorado State happened before all this happened. Turns out that was out of the conversation.
I'm not sure that was really part of this equation.
Oh, really?
Are you sure? That's been a big comment.
That's crazy. All right, Marty, we appreciate the hell out of you, man. Thank you for covering it all, and thank you for giving us the inside scoop on how it all went down from your perspective. The 2 helmets over your shoulders, class, that's why you're award-winning. Driving the van through fields, over roads.
I used my NASCAR experience, man.
Yeah.
I just said, you know what, boys, if What's the line
Robin,
about
Racing.
if
What
you
would
ain't
Dale
first,
do?
you're last?
Oh, yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Exactly.
Talladega Nights.
Would have made the Intimidator proud.
Yeah, you certainly would.
America. 3 forever, baby. Let's go. Love you, boys. You're first class. I love all of you.
You
Love
too,
you,
ladies
Marty.
and gentlemen, Mark Smith.
Yeah, Marty.